Hey, welcome to Better and Better Psychology Podcast. I am your host, psychotherapist M. Gary Neuman, with my wise and capable psychotherapist, co-host, and daughter, Esther Neuman. Wonderful to be back. We've had some wonderful guests. We have a really remarkable individual on this evening.
It's quite amazing. But before we get to that, we like to start off the show with some psychological insight. What have you been noodling around with? Yes. I like using that word.
Noodling. Yeah, I love it. It's been about the goal of happiness. It's interesting to me because, so many people ask me sometimes, are you happy, as though there's a goal of happiness? And I think to myself that when you have a goal, that is your goal, to be happy. I think that creates in people a certain self-centered, temporary, pleidure-seeking kind of concept.
Hedonistic kind of involvement.
It's all about happiness. Right. And I think that, I don't commit to that. So it is my personal life, right? I think I want to lead a meaningful life and a meaningful day. And I think when you search for meaning, I think that creates more sacrifice, more empathy and giving and love and focus on things that do develop great relationships. And of course, a more meaningful life a byproduct should bring happiness.
Exactly.
I just think it's interesting how the society is so focused on happy, 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 and don't be sad, don't be this, don't be struggling. And I think sometimes that works against people rather than to think to themselves, how do I make this day meaningful? How do I make this a purposeful day where the world and the people I love are better for me being with them and in it?
Right, and it's not life. You can't be happy all the time. So if that's your goal in life, you're going to fall short of it.
Right.
It's going to be hard, so.
Well, we're going to turn it over to, we have a wonderful guest. Let me tell you, to Will Bowen, and let me tell you something about him, because, Esther, you and I, we really spend our lives, and in a way, I feel like I was put on this earth in part to help people, and we work so hard to help people and affect people's lives. And, I hope, thank God we do it, But then there are people that they help people, but they start a movement,
right?
Of helping people.
They're really helping people.
It's like a different level, and that's who our guest is this evening. Will Bowen is the founder of the Complaint-Free Movement. We're going to learn about that.
I want to hear about it.
Yeah, we hear. As a little joke, I said to my wife yet today, I said, I have to complain to you a lot, honey. It's like going on a diet. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but can I get all my complaints in before Will's going to do something? And okay, anyway. You
got any complaints right now? Let's air it out. Get it out.
The Complaint-Free Movement, which has improved the lives of over 15 million people worldwide. He's really started something remarkable. He has been featured on Oprah, NBC Today's Show, CBS Sunday Morning, ABC World News Tonight, 60 Minutes, Fox News Channel. I don't mind saying it all because it's important for people to know that there's good-hearted people who make it and really affect and get all these places.
He's inspiring.
Thousands. Let me say that again. Thousands of newspapers and magazines articles around the world have been written about Will and his work, including People, Newsweek, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, O Magazine, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh.
He's written many books. One of his books sold more than nearly 4 million copies. Just that book. It's wonderful. We have been really waiting and just continue to follow everything that you do. So welcome.
Hi, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for the glowing introduction.
Well, it's well
And
deserved.
it's interesting that you talked about happiness because I've written 2 books on happiness.
Oh, good.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
As you were talking, I was like, let's rock and roll.
Start me off. So what do you think about that? Let's start with that. What do you think about the happiness goal, fit happiness into our lives and society? What's the, how do we touch it and feel it and manage it?
I totally agree with what you're saying is that we have this shiny, happy people kind of veneer that is on us. And I think a lot of that comes from social media because I recently had a birthday party and, we probably shot 100 pictures and I posted 5 of the best ones, that makes me look, and everybody looked great. So there's this falsity I guess, out there. I do find, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, both of you. When I was writing my first book on happiness, which is called Happy This Year, one of the things I discovered is that happy people describe themselves as happy, first and foremost. In other words, if you say to this person, "Are you a happy person?" they say yes. And the other thing is they are constantly grateful, which gratitude is the opposite of complaining. So what are your thoughts on?
Well,
I
definitely.
don't want to turn the table.
No.
I'd love to know what you think.
No, we're psychotherapists, as we're constantly, talking with each other. I agree with that concept of being a happy person is fine. It's the idea that I have to be happy. It doesn't mean I'm happy throughout my day. It doesn't mean that there's this, glittery, like you say, happy, I've bought something's exciting going on all the time. Exciting is life for me. I'm very excited about life. I'm excited about meeting you, learning from you, helping others. That's exciting to me. Is that happy? I would ascribe that as happy, positive, like you say. Clearly, we live by the stories we tell ourselves.
Sure.
That is so amazing.
That was what you said.
What's your thought?
When we interviewed, I remember Professor Richard Weissman, who's the expert on luck. That's what he said. He said lucky people describe themselves as lucky.
Right.
And that's part of
And he felt that was the thing.
Right.
Like, he doesn't really believe in luck, by the way. You can read his book. He believes it's the person's mentality.
Well, he made me believe in luck, so there you go.
So that's amazing.
And I love, there have been so many stories done about that, where a person believes they are a certain way and they end up being that way. And that's just, it's
beautiful.
As you believe, so shall it be done unto you. I'm not trying to get religious. I'm just saying,
please do.
All religions, there's been this idea that, you go in the direction of your dominant thought. And if you believe you're happy, and to jump into my area of expertise, complaining is always about what is wrong and what is missing. Your focus is what is wrong and what is missing. And therefore, complaining leads to sadness and discord, unhappiness. Gratitude is the opposite of complaining. Gratitude is always focused on what is present and what is working. And I believe that we can be grateful in most situations. And that is truly what guides us towards happiness. I forget who it was, but one of the great experts on happiness at Harvard University. Anyway, he talked about the idea that gratitude is the number one thing. It's focusing on the glass being half full as opposed to half empty, as trite as that sounds.
No, it's so absolute. It really does make the large difference.
Yeah, you have that in prayer a lot. People, we were talking about, when you in affirmations and meditation, just saying it. So how do you find, people who have, you struggle in life, right? There are real struggles. How do you help people refocus on that gratitude within difficult situations?
Well, it has to almost become a habit. And, the Buddha said life is suffering. So the idea that, and of course we suffer because we're attached, according to him. So
was the Buddha happy?
That's a very good question. I would say by his standards, he was, because he said that he was enlightened, which meant that he was not attached to any particular outcome, by his definition anyway. So complaining drives us towards focusing. There's a lot of myths about complaining, and we can get into that, but there's this idea that if we complained enough, then we would vent enough, we would ultimately be happy. And actually what complaining does is it reminds us of our discord. Now, that's not to say that we don't share the facts of our life, which can sometimes be difficult, neutrally to our dominant attachment figure, a primary attachment figure, or to our therapist. Because a lot of people say to me, does that mean I can't talk to my therapist? Of course not. Your therapist is someone who can actually help you. It's not complaining to speak directly and only to the person who can resolve your issue. The challenge is that most people go from person to person to person.
Right.
Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened. And then they never actually speak to the person who can resolve their issue.
So I think it's important for the way you're drawing the delineation between, let's say, somebody who's grieving. I don't mean to make it too dramatic, but
Please.
but somebody who's grieving, right? So you're not saying that that's complaining. You're grieving. You're allowed to tell your story, and you're allowed to share your soulful self. And if that's sadness, that is sadness. So help me with what is the difference between that, and when does it turn to complaining?
Great question. And I talk about this. I do that mostly. I travel and do keynotes for associations, et cetera. And I explain exactly that. It becomes complaining when you make yourself a victim in the story that is your life.
Oh, that's
How dare this happen to me? You know, Eckhart Tolle said, it is not complaining. Let's see, complaining is not to be confused with informing someone of a mistake or a deficiency so it can be put right.
okay.
And to refrain from complaining, I know this whole passage,
Wow.
and to refrain from complaining doesn't mean putting up with bad quality or behavior. There is no ego in telling the waiter your soup is cold if you stick to the facts, which are neutral. How dare you serve me cold soup? That's complaining.
Okay.
And that's Eckhart Tolle. And I just think that is absolutely brilliant.
Wonderful.
It's
Love
brilliant.
the
And it's almost
victim idea. I think
right,
it's
the
a
victim idea.
terrific
It's also
idea.
personalizing. Like, so the restaurant, right? It's almost personalizing it. Like, oh, you did this to me. You served me bad soup, as opposed to, the soup isn't great. Can I get a different one? Can we fix it? So it's about fixing it.
It's about, yes, it's speaking. One of the things that I always talk about when I work with associations and everything is that it's not complaining to speak directly and only to that person that can resolve your issue. That is a request for accountability. So in other words, if one of you were my therapist and I was not happy with the direction our therapy was going, if I were to speak to you, that is a request for accountability. In my mind, you have not been accountable to what in my mind you should be doing. Complaining is telling my daughter, my neighbor, my dog that my therapist is not doing what it is I would hope.
Wasn't on time, late again,
Right.
wasn't focusing.
Exactly.
Stop looking at your emails.
Don't look at your clock.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
So, the idea is that we want to keep our focus on what is going well, what is working, and to be grateful and to address what is not with the people who can resolve it. And we're going to get into the 5 reasons people complain, but it's not complaining if the buck stops with you and a person comes to you. That is not complaining. If they go to other people, it's complaining. I always try and make the distinction, though, that even grown adults can sound like, so why don't you do this? And how come that? Like an ambulance going by. It's whiny. Or they're too angry. And it's because when they were kids, their parents would tell them no, but they discovered that if they whined or if they got angry, they would get what they wanted. And what they don't understand is that as adults, all they have to do is ask. Most other adults want to give them what they want. So all we have to do is ask.
Wow. So I want to get to the 5 reasons for complaining, but I want to start with this question, and maybe it's one of the 5, but are complaints usually me saying that something outside of me is always the problem? Is a complaint usually just not being self-reflective and not owning issues?
It certainly can be. I think that's a very good way of looking at it. I believe to really synopsize it into a very succinct way, We complain to get our social needs met. We are social creatures. We are social animals. We will do whatever we can to get our social needs met. And we draw attention to ourselves, we excuse ourselves, etc., as a way of maintaining or increasing our social status. The request for accountability, like if I have an issue with a product that I ordered from Amazon and I talk directly in Amazon, again, not a complaint, but I could still take that same situation and go around and tell everybody else about how Amazon victimized me.
Right.
Which, by the way, they didn't. They did great.
For the
As a way
Little plug for Amazon.
Exactly.
connecting with people. Yeah.
Tell us the five. Tell us the 5 reasons that people.
The 5.
Please.
I would love to take credit for this. Dr. Robin Kowalski, who was in the psychology department at Clemson University, she actually discovered the 5 reasons people complain. Bear with me. Let me take a sip of water.
Please.
Dr. Robin Kowalski discovered that people complain for 5 reasons. And her way of describing them was a little difficult for me, and I felt others to remember a little bit of psychological
Mumbo jumbo.
talk. I didn't use that word, but thank you very much.
I'm allowed, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so I came up with an acronym, GRIPE. People gripe. GRIPE. The G in GRIPE stands for get attention.
Okay.
And by that, I don't mean, hey, notice me, but it can. That's kind of in some cases, the Karen aspect, Get attention simply means I want to talk to you and I don't know how. I have been trained that the best thing to do is gripe, kvetch, complain, whinge, whatever, because that is going to put us on a field where, if I was in Kansas City right now, I might say something about the Chiefs. Oh yeah, so that we can.
It's forming connections.
It's connections. That's exactly right. It's simply a way of. I always say this is why elevators are uncomfortable, because human beings have a need to connect. It's not a want. If we're in an elevator long enough and we feel because the elevator, the numbers get real interesting.
Oh my God. We're all staring at those numbers.
We're staring at the numbers, exactly. And it's a social awkwardness we need to break until somebody says, do you think the Dolphins are ever going to win a game? Or do you think it's ever going to stop raining? And then you've acknowledged that other person. In my experience, in my research, this is the number one reason people complain. It's simply to start a conversation. And other people are guilty of, or I should say, we are all guilty of. But if you've got a person who complains to get attention, other people realize that and they do what's called complaint baiting. Now, as a professional speaker who travels around the world all the time and I'm on planes, people will often say, how was your flight?
Well done.
The assumption that it was terrible.
Right.
Yes.
It was
Terrible.
Oh, yeah. Tell me. Right.
Please tell me. And it's a way of starting a conversation.
Interesting.
We're social animals. So we just want to get attention.
And also, people do, we can see it in the news, catastrophize, negativity. People are drawn to it. So if I'm in an elevator, to your point, and I say, oh, the weather, isn't it suck? And, and the person will more likely say, oh, yeah. If I say, boy, isn't it beautiful outside? Like, I think, okay.
Like it ends the conversation.
The conversation really flows better when people are negative and complaining.
Right. It's funny you brought up something that, again, that I love to talk about, and that is complaining is a competitive sport. It is. It really is.
Like, I'm going to one-up you.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I did a speech in Chicago to like thousands of teachers. And right before the speech, there was a party to like welcome Will. And in walked a football coach and he was stumbling. limping a little bit. And one of the superintendents said, "Coach, what's wrong?" And he said, "I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom last night, stubbed my toe, and the nail is black." And as soon as he said that, another teacher said, "About 5 years ago, I got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I stubbed my toe, and I came down wrong and twisted my ankle."
Now we're
And I
comparing.
kid you not, exactly. And I kid you not. Then somebody else said, "I've got an uncle."
Exactly. Not even
They had
in
to
the
bring in the
room.
uncle. They
Not
had,
even in the room.
no, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
He didn't even have the material. He had to bring in his uncle
Exactly.
because he wasn't a part of the complaint conversation.
Yes,
Yeah.
to join in. So the point, the punchline of this one was that this person said, "My uncle stubbed his toe, fell over backwards, hit his head on a coffee table,
God.
and died."
Oh,
Oh, he won.
Exactly. Esther, you got it. That's exactly what I was saying. Everybody goes, "He won." Now, all right, imagine if this was flipped, guys.
Right.
Imagine if we're at a little party and somebody says, "My uncle stubbed his toe, fell over backwards, hit his head, and died." And the coach said, "Well, I stubbed my toe and the nail is black." We would all go, "What's wrong with you?"
Right.
right.
Complaining always goes in degrees of higher severity,
Interesting.
never the other way around.
So why is that? Is it?
Shut a conversation now. Just go for the dead complaint.
Oh,
and then
now we know.
There you go.
If someone died, we
shut
bring
it
that in.
can't complain after that. I'm sorry. What were you
Right.
saying? Sorry. It's just so true. It's so true to life.
It's crazy.
Well, I know you do international talks, but you're a stand-up comic, right? No, I'm kidding.
No, not at all. Thank you.
No, you should be because you talk about real life in that way. Yes.
No, but so how did we become this? Where we're all just trying to find, we're trying to one up each other.
We wonder about that. I think we talk about it a lot. What is the focus on negativity? The human system, brain seems to be focused. So sometimes we say, well, you do have to think negatively. I better not step into the street or else the bus will hit me.
Right, the survival.
So there is a survival, and do we take it too far? Has life changed? Did cavemen sit there and say, "Oh, you know what I'm saying?" Like, your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into y'all's territory, but my understanding is that, over time we developed the prefrontal cortex, which allowed us to look forward into the future and to project good or bad. And that is what people tend to spend a lot of their time doing. And the happier people, the more successful people are the people, in my experience, who focus on possibilities. How can I go as opposed to roadblocks and issues? And complaining to get attention is a much safer way than other ways we might do. The way that I recommend, there was a man who worked in my grandfather's hardware store who I noticed everybody loved, and he would always say, "What's the good word?"
That's a great one.
Yeah, isn't that great? He would preset a conversation for what's the good word. So people complain just to get attention. And then the R,
Please, go on.
Remove responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this one. This is the one where you ask somebody to do something, right? And they say, "Gary, I would love to, but," and then they start with, you say, "Hey, could you help me move on Tuesday?"
Right.
"I would love to, but
Stub my toe."
Yes, I gotta.
He died.
It works for everything.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Right. Okay, that's remove
just complain
responsibility.
to be let off the hook.
Right.
Remove responsibility.
That works.
It's, I don't want to say no to you. It's socially, remember, it all comes down to social,
Right.
maintaining or elevating your social status. So I don't want to say no, but I sure don't want to do it. So what I'll do is blame the circumstances.
Great. Okay. We're up to.
And if you've got an employee, let's say, who's doing this, what you'll want to say is something like, "If it were possible, how might you do it?"
Okay, just to kind of get them over it. Just loop them over it. Do people do it toward your because I know you do a lot of business consulting, and that's what you're talking about. Do people often not even realize that they're doing it? Isn't that
I would say in most cases, people never realize
Right.
they're complaining. The average person complains 15 to 30 times a day,
Wow.
okay?
and they have no awareness they're doing.
Wow.
So
Well, I'm
So
sorry.
here's my joke.
Yeah,
You said I was
please.
a stand-up comic,
Yes.
right? If that's true, then complaining is like bad breath. We notice it when it comes out of somebody else's mouth, but not when it comes out of our own.
Well done.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Well done. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, I mean, I don't mean to, be self-critical, but I think in Jewish worlds, we should up that statistic.
I think we're at 60 a day. We're just
Somehow we
Kvetching.
have
Well, we have a
survived
word.
kvetching with
we
it's a
created
whole,
our own word for it.
exactly.
Kvetch. And it's a word that gives us
I know. I've had
justification.
You used it.
I've had other Jewish people ask.
We justified complaining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just a.
I once heard, and this is not to step on toes. I think it's funny though that Jews are born in guilt. Catholics have it thrust upon them.
Well done. Well done. So,
Thank you.
being that we brought in the religious aspect, and we're getting to I know, and great. So, do you think that spirituality as well have you found that to help with gratitude, or does that cause more guilt, like you say, and more complaining, like God's not happy with me, God has it out for me, I mean, or do you find generally, a better match for helping people feel better, feel more hopeful, feel there's a purpose?
I do.
Mm.
And I don't want to be flippant, but according to the Dalai Lama, the purpose of religion is to impart two things: hope and ethics. And hope would dissuade you from complaining. If you have hope, you're less likely to complain. I'm not encouraging, two of my best friends are atheists. Think I'm crazy because I believe in God. So,
no, listen, I have a dear friend who's an atheist, and I always say to him, just come with me. You'll feel better. I mean, even if you find out, you'll feel better.
What's the harm?
Don't worry about it, but that's to your point.
And if we want to slice it really thin, I mean, it comes back to the very first thing we said. If you believe in, something good or whatever,
Right.
as opposed to believing in bad or nothing, you're more likely.
We have. I'm just saying, we have in the Talmud reference from a couple thousand years ago, but every Jew or Orthodox Jew knows it. It's called Gamzu Latova, which means this is also for my best. And it comes from a story from the Talmud of this man. All these terrible things were happening. He was called the man of, Noah Gamzu. He also said, this is always for my best. And I mean, there's no doubt my personal life has been about, when things look down, that you're able to say, well, God, there's a purpose. It doesn't mean that it's all going to end up rosy and beautiful for me in this existence. It just means that I believe that there is a higher purpose, and if it's taking me here, whatever the difficulty is, even in that there is meaning, and that's it's hard to get by without that. For me, maybe it makes things so
agree,
much.
Yeah.
It's that old story. I think it was Lao Tzu who told the story of good news, bad news. We'll see. It's the ancient Chinese farmer who one day his only horse runs away, and his neighbors say, "Oh, what bad news?" And he says, "Good news, bad news. We'll see." Then the horse comes back leading an entire remuda of horses, and they said, "Wow, what good news?" And he says, "Good news, bad news. We'll see." And then his son breaks his leg trying to break one of the horses. And they say, bad news. And he says, good news, bad news, we'll see. And then the army comes along, taking every able-bodied young man. And they say, what good news? And he says, we'll see.
Beautiful.
And it's,
No,
that's how I like to look
I love that. That's beautiful. And I think I have friends who, they grew up in certain religious environments and, they're not religious necessarily. But they believe in like universal law of energy and things like that. And I think that's the same kind of concept that everything is meant to be, everything has a ripple effect. Everything's, connected. I listen to this meditation now every morning. And one of my favorite parts is when she says, Bella Ruth Apperstack, she's great. And she says, something wonderful is about to happen today. Like something wonderful. And it's like, it brings you hope. To your point, it gives you feel good. You're like, okay, well, what's
right. And so
something
you're
good's gonna happen.
Right. So you walk out looking for it
Right.
and you find it. Seek and you shall. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So I want to get to I, but I have a question about complaining. So I'm complaining about the complaining.
I inspire envy. Now I came up with inspire envy. She said brag. Inspire envy didn't fit my GRIPE if I said brag. So people complain to brag. It is rude to brag. And I'm getting ready to go speak in China for like my 5th time. I've been all over the world. Nowhere in the world is bragging considered a nice thing. But people have discovered that you can complain about your good fortune and accomplish the same thing.
You gotta go speak in China again. You gotta go schlep over there.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I just gave you an example.
That's what you were doing.
I gotta go. Yeah, actually,
you got kvetch about the airplane.
Exactly.
Like it's going to be so long to get there. Right.
Yes.
I never thought of that.
That's a great example.
It is interesting because instead of like, if you come into a room and you're like, I had a great day and I'm going to China, I'm going to help people. Things are going to be great. People like.
Yeah, it's bragging.
Yeah,
it can be bragging.
But you're really just saying positivity, really.
Yeah. It's
not necessarily bragging, it's positivity. But people don't like
it. It is positivity, and some people hear it as bragging.
Do you have an issue with do we have to be careful about being positive around the average person who doesn't want to hear your positivity? Like there's that part also. There's I sometimes have to be careful because if I am talking about things too rosy,
people don't like it.
People don't like it.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear it. Like, oh, airy fairy, there he goes again.
Yeah, true. There are people who are like that, but again, they have attracted to them the experience they believe, and therefore you are vibrating in a metaverse they don't understand. You're like Spider-Man across the metaverse. And they don't fully understand it. And to them, they just constantly reaffirm and hang on to where they are.
Right. I think that's why I was going to say that's why I think people group together. I talk about this in marriages and with individuals. I always say that, they're in marriages, people always tell me, and when they're in bad marriages, they say, oh, we're in bad marriages. Well, all of our friends are in bad marriages. Everybody's like this. Everybody's cheating or this or that, or whatever. And I was explaining to them, it's not everybody. It's that good marriages don't want to be with you. Really. It's a real issue. They don't want to be with you. Nobody wants a good marriage. People who love each other and don't fight. They don't want to be with people who are bickering and fighting and doing things that are complaining. So groups of complainers find each other, and groups of people who have gratitude find each other, and it's very polarizing.
Yeah, Illusions by Richard Bach, one of the basic truths of the universe. Like attracts like. And therefore you are self-affirming in your echo chamber because you are attracting people who are like you, who are at your vibrational energy. And one of the things I learned years ago, I'm sure you've heard this many times, is that we are the aggregate of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And that is why it is so important to try and seek out people. If you want to be, I agreed with what you said earlier, that we don't want to set happiness as a destination because I don't believe there's any there. But being around people who are happy such that they impact our world
for sure
is so powerful.
Right. That's very true. Yeah. It is true.
When you're having a low day and you're surrounded, you go to people, you're hanging out with friends who are happy and positive, it influences your mood. And I think you're correct. People think that if they complain enough, it will resolve the issue that they're having. But really, if they walked into a room and just started talking about happy things, their brain would change and suddenly they would feel happier. They would be attracting happy things and positivity.
It's true.
Yeah, people, and I actually, in 2 of my books, I write about the myth of venting. This idea that we need to vent.
To get it out.
Don't get me wrong.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Right. If that worked, Gary, then the biggest complainers would be the happiest people.
Right.
Right.
Exploded
It's
that
not
myth.
true. However, we do want to share our life experiences, but not make ourselves a victim of those experiences. It's how we connect with those closest to us.
Yes.
By the way, I live near Miami. You want to hear a Miami brag I heard the other day?
Yeah.
Oh, let's hear it.
I was in a restaurant.
We live in Miami Beach, by the way.
Oh, you guys are in Miami Beach. I'm in Key Largo.
Okay. Well, that's a little far to come to the studio.
I could have driven up and seen.
You're in the Keys. That's fun.
But we're going to pass you when we go to Key West next. We're going to come have coffee.
All right, stop by. You'll be going right by my
Exactly.
place. But I'm sure you've probably heard things like this. These are Miami complaints.
Let's hear them.
You know the worst part about driving a Rolls Royce?
Tell us.
Here's another one. You know what nobody ever tells you about dating a supermodel?
That's Miami. It's Miami.
That's
Miami. Her son, my grandson,
Miami.
he's 5,
my God.
Oh, look, hey, look at that Lamborghini.
Exactly.
Now they're doing Cybertrucks. That Cybertruck doesn't look as cool as that Cybertruck. That Lamborghini is green, and the other one
yellow. We want the yellow. Anyway, yeah.
Well, as far as Miami too, there's only 2 types of drivers, and I talk about this in my speech because I always say, you don't complain. This is bragging. You don't complain about people who are like you. You complain about people who are not like you. And you can test it when you're driving. Because in Miami, there's 2 types of drivers. There's the elderly who came down to live in what Robin Williams called God's waiting room, and they're in no hurry to be anywhere except dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Exactly.
So they're doing 20 miles below the speed limit. And then you got the ones who are raised on Grand Theft Auto, doing 120 miles an hour. So when you're driving through Miami, it's the fast and the furious versus the dazed and confused. And they all look at each other and use the same word, idiot, which means they're bragging. They're saying my way is the right way. That's inspiring.
Amazing. Okay, P. Let's get
P.
P. Power. Power. This is one, I think I'm going to write an entire book about this. Human beings, being social animals, measure power based on the number of other human beings who agree with them. So people complain to get other people on their side. I call this enrage and engage. Most people are neutral about most things. Most people don't really care, but they want to go and make you care by upsetting you. This is all politics is based on complaining. If you don't have a complaint, you don't have a campaign. You must say something is wrong and only I can fix it.
Right.
There was a show on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, and they talked about how all social media is based on complaining, because what they discovered is if they can bring you in with something you like I like scuba diving, but start showing you little things over here that might upset you. And then when they figure out, oh, he's upset by this particular brand of politics or this particular thing, then they start pumping that in your feed. And what that does is it keeps you engaged longer for more often. So they make more money. This is all power. The news, of course, we know this. I mean, we want to be informed, but the news is also about what is wrong,
always,
which is negative. Always, of course.
Complaining.
So,
it's all complaining.
Yeah.
It's
what's wrong.
It's all complaining.
What is wrong and what is missing. If you can just hang on to those definitions, of complaining, Is it what is wrong and what is missing, or what is present and going well? And the news is rarely about that.
Right.
And the news, of course, is it's people. It's trying to get as many people as possible.
Wow. Just because of time, let's get to E. I don't want to miss anything.
E, excuse poor performance. Excuse poor performance is the past tense of the R.
Yeah.
The R is remove responsibility. You asked me to do something, I don't want to do it.
Right.
I complain about the circumstances. The E is excuse poor performance.
Right.
You asked me to do something, I fail at it, but it's not my fault. I'm going to blame somebody else.
Exactly. Okay. Tell me about the complaint-free movement and the bracelets, and what we can all do to start changing our lives.
Sure. Yeah, the way all this started was in 2006. I was teaching a class on prosperity. People wanted to be more prosperous, which is more, but they were complaining about what they already had. So I thought, what if I encouraged them to go 21 days in a row without complaining?
How'd you come up with 21 days, by the way? Just hit you?
That's that
sounded good.
Mythological idea that if you do something for 21 consecutive days, I wasn't planning a movement. I was just talking.
Best ideas.
So, yes. And it occurred to me that back then, everybody was wearing Livestrong bracelets.
Right.
This was 18 years ago. So if you took a bracelet, put it on your wrist, and every time you caught yourself complaining, you don't snap it. Yeah, that's you don't do violence.
Yes.
No more rubber bands.
Switch it to the other wrist. Yeah.
Okay.
So, or a rubber band. So you just go back and forth. And I put this out there, and then it exploded. And as you said, we're at 15 million bracelets around the world. So you don't need one of my bracelets, but this is a mindfulness tool. It's not a cause bracelet. So you can get one at acomplaintfreeworld.org. And that includes videos on how to do the program, why people complain, etc. But as you said, Esther, you can just use a rubber band.
Yeah.
The key is to become aware, because we're not aware of the negativity that comes out of it.
And once people go the 21 days, do you report that solves, or do they have to do it again 6 months later?
I have done it 3 times, and the first time took me much longer than the second time. The second time took me, the third time took me less time than the second time. So what I find is, unfortunately, because we have a negativity bias as human beings, and because the media and most people are negative, it can be a good idea to do it every few years. I have a guy who has been in a program that I do, he must have done it 10 times. It's amazing. It's like he just keeps lapping the track, and he just loves it.
Well, people should get yours. I think also, to your point, is if you can't complain, right, then it forces you what am I going to say now? So now I have to think something positive or say something positive.
Say it in a better way.
It forces me to do something different. So it's not just the lack thereof. It's actually initiating something much more positive.
How do you, you said a lot of people aren't aware of when they're complaining, right? So they have the bracelet. How do you tell people initially, okay, how do you know when you're complaining to catch yourself?
Yeah, you need to
Thank you.
You need one of those.
Like a buzzer.
It starts buzzing on you if it senses. It senses you're complaining.
That's it.
Honestly, if you think you're complaining, you probably are. And it's better to err on the side of, because I tell people, if you do this, the average person, we've had thousands of people who have gone 21 days in a row without complaining. There are chapters in my book from people who've talked about the health effects, the benefits in their family, at work, etc. And when you take the challenge and you try and stop complaining, what happens is, because we're social beings, and Gary touched on this just a minute ago, you are going to find a way to connect with other people. And your mind, the neuroplasticity in your brain begins to reshape, because you have been thinking, what's wrong? How can I tell this person to start a conversation? What's wrong? How can I start a conversation? What is missing? How can I do this? And now your brain goes, what's going well? What am I grateful for? What am I happy about, etc. And that's why you literally become a happier person. To bring everything we've said full circle, for the first, 15 years of this movement, we didn't send out, congratulations, you've gone 21 days without complaining. We sent out things called a certificate of happiness, because that's the number one side effect people describe, is when they focus on what's going well and what's working, as opposed to what's wrong and what's missing.
They're happier.
The side effect is happy.
It's amazing.
Right. So it's an interesting concept. Instead of, everyone's focusing on being positive, but if you just focus on stopping this behavior that you're doing, it naturally, your brain naturally will do that.
I liken it to the Alcoholics Anonymous approach. In a lot of approaches towards alcoholism, they would say, let's figure out why you drink so you'll stop drinking. Alcoholics Anonymous says, stop drinking and let's figure out why you drink. This is the same thing. Stop complaining and let's figure out. Maybe it's because you're hanging around with this person, or you're, I had a guy who was a big barrier to me going the 21 days. And I explained this to a mutual friend, and she said, it's not him, it's you. You draw it out of him and he draws it out of you as a result.
Right. The baiting.
Yeah. Complaint baiting.
Right.
Exactly.
Like you said. Well, okay. So listen, everyone's got to go to willbowen.com.
Right.
Because everybody's not going to see this. So sometimes I want to make sure that on the sound we get it. And also a complaint-free world.org. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to take the challenge, it's complaintfreeworld.org.
Okay.
And that's where you can get bracelets, and we've got programs for schools.
Amazing.
We've had thousands of schools do this.
Oh, I bet.
That's great.
That's great.
And so we've got programs for schools, teachers, relationships, etc. And then if they would like to maybe bring me in to speak at an association or anything like that, or to watch my speeches, willbowen.com.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I think, Esther, I might be ready for the 21-day challenge.
Let's do it. They love it.
I have a little trepidation here. We're going to see what's going to happen. I might get very quiet.
I can hear it in your voice. You guys should be like accountability partners.
We'll be like the opposite of the baiting. We'll be like, hey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No complaining here. Complaint-free zone.
Well, and I always say, don't be a bracelet cop. Don't sit there and go.
We saw where we were going with that, right?
I want to switch that bracelet.
Exactly. Good
Get
point.
my kids getting bracelets. There you go.
Well, we appreciate your time. We love to have you again. Everyone, seek out Will. Before we end, you can seek out Esther. How do they get in touch with you, Esther?
And social media at Esther Neuman Therapist, and for you at M. Gary Newman.
Thank you for helping with that. And we really appreciate everyone. Thank you, Will, for spending your time with us. Really, you're everyone knows you're a very sought out speaker, and to take your time with us, we're very appreciative, and we're appreciative for all you do for everybody. And okay, everybody out there, just remember, stop complaining, and then we're going to feel better, and we're going to get better.
And better.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.